Ros, it's going to be a big week for the Prime Minister, arguably more important than for President Trump, who's coming with a number of CEOs. Let's start with the nuclear deal before maybe we get onto domestic politics. What do we know about this nuclear deal and some of the other deals that may come through from Wednesday through the rest of this week?
Well, that's right. So they're highlighting a whole lot of different kinds of business deals they hope to get done this week. The nuclear deal is part of that, and that is to use each other's safety assessments to essentially speed up licensing for nuclear plants and to allow cross-investment from their companies in all of that. And also we've got a lot of CEOs, as you said, coming with Donald Trump. There's going to be a bit of a fireside chat with these CEOs later this week involving both Keir Starmer and Donald Trump. But we do expect some announcements surrounding, again, data centres, which is going to be Sam Altman from OpenAI and, of course, Jensen Huang from NVIDIA announcing potentially quite sizable investments in data centres in the UK in conjunction with UK companies. And, of course, Keir Starmer wants to set up these AI areas where you get fast-track approvals, you get electricity guaranteed to come in, so that would be a plus for him, but realistically dwarfed really by the numbers that these companies are spending in terms of data centres in the Middle East and elsewhere. So interesting investment for the UK, but not incredibly large, you would say, in the scheme of things. And there could be, of course, underlying all of this, the conversation around trade still, because there's lots of bits of the UK-US trade framework that are not entirely set, and that includes around steel and whiskey. OK, and you
would have thought that the Prime Minister's team will hope that the headlines will focus on trade deals at the end of this week rather than the pressure that is on the Prime Minister right now. Just talk to us about how the domestic politics, the pressure on this leadership here in the UK ties in to the visit by President Trump.
Well, it's coming obviously at quite an awkward time for Keir Starmer. It's all very carefully choreographed, you'd have to say. So what you have is a lot of time with the royal family for Donald Trump, because he does like a royal. So you have a lot of time with that, well away from the potential from protesters. Then you have the meeting moved to the rural residents, excuse me, for the Prime Minister. Again, away largely from the prying eyes of protesters. So maybe you deal with that. However, the UK press is going to be there, and they will continue to ask questions of Keir Starmer around the events of recent weeks, both, of course, around his former Deputy Prime Minister, Angela Rayner, because that's still going on, plus, of course, the most recent events around the investigation that we did into Peter Mandelson and his subsequent resignation. And so all of that's going to follow Keir Starmer through this week. Questions around the management of his government and certainly his inner circle coming into a very tricky time for the government, heading into, of course, budgets, and they've got to look at how they're going to find money for all their promises at a time that, fiscally they're very, very squeezed. So a lot of questions around that. And, of course, you just don't know what Donald Trump's going to say in the minute. That's always the unknown in these things. A joint press conference standing there next to Donald Trump. Does Donald Trump decide to comment on domestic UK politics?